Hello, dear listener. Let us gently drift into a tale from a time long, long ago. A story about a king whose heart was as golden as his hair, yet whose spirit felt as delicate as glass. Imagine, if you will, the grand land of France in the year 1380. A young boy, only 11 years old, stood beneath tall, graceful arches, his golden hair catching the soft light. He was so small, yet a grand crown, the crown of St. Louis, was gently placed upon his trembling head. His cheeks were still round with the innocence of youth, and his eyes, wide with a gentle wonder, reflected the bigness of a world he was only just beginning to understand. The priests whispered that a higher power had chosen him. The nobles spoke of his royal blood. But this young boy, Charles, son of the wise King Charles V of France, would soon learn that a throne, though seemingly made of gold, could sometimes feel as warm as a gentle flame. He became King Charles VI of France, inheriting a kingdom that was still softly healing from the echoes of past wars. His father had ruled with quiet strength and wisdom, but his passing left behind not just a young boy, but a land that sometimes felt like a quiet battlefield dressed in silk. At 11, he was too young to rule alone, so his uncles, men who sometimes squabbled a little, helped him, caring for the royal treasury and the gentle people, though sometimes their ways were not always as gentle as one might wish. For many quiet years, Charles was a king mostly in name, a king waiting to bloom. But when he turned 20, he gently put aside the regents, taking the throne for himself, and he swore to rule with a clear mind, bringing unity and soft justice to his beloved France. The people, with hope in their hearts, called him Charles the Beloved, and for a gentle time it seemed perfectly true. In his early years of personal rule, Charles VI was everything France had quietly prayed for. He was intelligent, graceful, and unusually kind, with a gentle heart. Unlike his ancestors, he chose not to be harsh. He would sometimes even wander among his people in disguise, dancing at their festivals, listening gently to their soft wishes and dreams without a hint of disdain. He was married to Isabeau of Bavaria, a queen with a strong and loving spirit. Their court was filled with elegant beauty, soft music, graceful tournaments, artistry, and gentle laughter. The realm found a little peace, briefly, like a quiet breath. But sometimes a quiet fragility seemed to linger around him like a soft whisper. Court doctors whispered softly that he was perhaps a little too pale, a little too quiet,
that he would sometimes wake at night from dreams he couldn't quite remember, like mist upon the memory. Still, no one truly worried. Not yet. Not until the quiet of the forest. It was a gentle summer in 1392. Charles was 24, preparing to lead an army on a journey into Brittany to address a challenge from a nobleman. On the way, in the dense, silent forest of Le Mans, under a sky where clouds drifted gently, something shifted within him, softly, like a distant whisper. The sun was high, warm on his face. The road was dry beneath his horse's hooves. Charles rode in quiet contemplation when suddenly, without warning, a soft cry escaped him. He gently drew his sword, and with eyes wide, as if seeing something only he could perceive, he waved it towards his own men, as if chasing away unseen shadows. "Traitors! Traitors!" he cried, his voice laced with a gentle fear. He grazed a knight before he was carefully restrained. He trembled softly in the arms of his guards, whimpering like a small animal, until he fell gently unconscious on the soft earth. When he awoke, days later, he remembered nothing. Like a forgotten dream, the court was stunned into a hushed silence. Physicians gently tended to him. Priests prayed softly, with quiet reverence. But the king had changed, ever so subtly. He no longer recognized his gentle wife, his beloved Isabeau. He forgot the names of his dear children. He stared into mirrors as if he feared they might softly crack him. And so began a reign of two kings, one lucid, noble, and gentle, like a clear morning. The other, a gentle ghost, trapped in a body that felt as delicate as glass. The year was 1393. Charles sat in his chambers, wrapped in soft silks, like a cocoon. But he no longer felt regal or entirely real. He began to speak softly to his attendants, his kind servants, and his queen, always with a pleading, gentle edge. "Please do not touch me.
I will shatter." He truly believed, deeply, and with a quiet, absolute terror, that his body was made entirely of glass. He refused to let anyone approach too quickly, moving with a gentle caution. He wore reinforced clothing, lined with soft cushions to protect himself. Some whispered that he had gentle metal rods sewn into his robes. Others that he lay motionless for hours, fearing even his own soft breath might crack his fragile bones. If a servant accidentally dropped a cup, he would cry out softly and retreat to a quiet corner, convinced that he too had cracked like a delicate vase. This was no act, no playful game. Charles VI truly believed he was made of glass, a vessel of nobility so delicate that a single gentle fall could destroy not just himself, but the quiet kingdom he held so dear. One of the few pleasures Charles still indulged in was dancing, a soft rhythm in his troubled world. His court, guided by Queen Isabeau, remained enchanted by gentle pageantry, graceful performances, and enchanting masquerades. In 1393, a great, joyful celebration was held in Paris, a wedding feast for one of the Queen's dear ladies-in-waiting. At this event, Charles took part in a rather strange and perhaps a little foolish entertainment called the Bal des Ardents, the Dance of the Burning Men. He and 5 others, dressed as wild forest creatures, their bodies covered in soft flax and gentle pitch, tied to their limbs with delicate thread. They danced gracefully through the hall
to the soft beat of drums, mysterious and thrilling like a dream. But someone, perhaps a little careless, or perhaps a little too absorbed in the merriment, held a torch just a little too close. The flax ignited instantly, like a spark in the dark. The men burst into gentle flames, a terrible sight. Charles barely survived, shielded by a quick-thinking lady of the court who gently threw her wide skirts over him. But 4 others passed away, their gentle cries echoing in the hall. The court was horrified, a deep silence falling upon them. But Charles, he seemed to gently break again, like fragile glass. For weeks after, he did not speak, his voice a quiet whisper. Then came the soft whispers again. He thought his skin was cracking, like a delicate surface. He wept softly, saying he had seen the glass break from within, a profound sorrow in his gentle eyes. He was only 25, so young. As Charles's gentle episodes became more frequent, France lost more than just a king. It lost its quiet anchor, its steady heart. Sometimes he believed he was a saint or a legendary hero. Other times he would gently wander through the palace halls, convinced he was being followed by invisible, friendly shadows.
He would sometimes disappear for days, found curled peacefully under a staircase or behind a grand statue, simply resting. There were precious periods when he regained his quiet clarity, weeks, even months, when he ruled gently, kindly, with the same noble heart as in his youth, like a clear, calm lake. But then the shadows would softly return, drifting back like a quiet fog. A kind physician wrote, "When the gentle madness descends, the king no longer believes he is king. He does not know his name. He sees knives in the mirror, yet also sees angels in the walls, a world of his own." The court slowly fractured like a delicate pattern. His wife, Isabel, became the gentle de facto ruler, but many nobles quietly opposed her, whispering that a woman should not command the fate of France. Others allied with Charles's brother, Louis of Orleans, or his cousin, the powerful Duke of Burgundy, each with their own gentle hopes for the kingdom. And so, with the king locked in a soft prison of his own mind, a quiet civil war gently took root. France had no king, not truly. Oh, Charles VI still breathed a gentle presence, but he was no longer fully present in the world. He floated between moments of gentle clarity and soft madness, like a piece of driftwood on a quiet river, sometimes caught, sometimes free. He had become a symbol rather than a sovereign, a broken mirror in a room that felt stained with the echoes of conflict. And in the quiet space he left behind, 2 figures, like gentle shadows,
began to exert their will. On one side stood Louis, Duke of Orleans, Charles's charismatic brother, a man of elegance, poetry, and a gentle charm. He ruled in the king's name during Charles's spells of quiet introspection, and many believed he held the queen's gentle favor. On the other stood John the Fearless, Duke of Burgundy, cunning and strong, heir to immense wealth and the quiet loyalty of Paris's working class. Both men claimed to act in Charles's gentle best interest. Both men saw the throne through the soft fog of madness, and each in their own way desired it for themselves. In 1407, their quiet conflict gently reached its peak. Louis of Orleans was sadly assassinated, his life ending softly in the streets of Paris by unseen hands. John the Fearless quietly admitted it. "I took the traitor," he said softly, "and in doing so, I saved France." He believed. The king did nothing, not because he didn't care, for his heart was kind, but because he simply didn't know. At the time of his brother's gentle passing, Charles had retreated into another quiet episode.
He didn't recognize his ministers. He didn't know what year it was. He walked in gentle circles, softly muttering about the sound of shattered bells that only he could hear. The Armagnac-Burgundian Civil War erupted in his quiet absence.